Every month, we pay for a connection, a phone bill, a data plan, a simple cost for staying linked to the world. But what if that monthly bill is quietly funding ways to disconnect us from our democracy? Let's follow the money behind America's three major wireless carriers, get a new perspective, explore an alternative, and maybe change your mind about where you spend your hard-earned money. Coverage, speed, price. Those are the things we usually compare when choosing a wireless carrier. Verizon still leads in nationwide coverage. AT&T follows closely. T-Mobile has made major gains, and for 5G, they now often lead. So let's follow the money. But before we talk about any single moment like January 6th, it's important to understand something bigger. Companies like AT&T don't influence politics all at once. They do it continuously over decades through lobbying, PAC donations, and trade associations. That long-term pattern matters more than any one headline. And when you look at a pattern, a clear picture starts to emerge. AT&T is one of the largest political spenders in America. Public records show more than $100 million in political contributions and over $450 million in lobbying since the 1990s. That money has consistently flowed to lawmakers who oppose voting rights protections, election accountability measures, and consumer oversight. January 6th wasn't the beginning of the story. It was a moment when a long-running pattern became visible. After the January 6th attack, AT&T publicly pledged to pause donations to lawmakers who opposed certifying the 2020 presidential election. But records show they later resumed. It's not a one-off mistake, it's a pattern. Pause when the spotlight hits, resume when it fades. And this pattern didn't stop with politicians. Court testimony later revealed that AT&T had supplied up to 90% of One American News Network's revenue, a channel that amplified false election claims. I'm not saying AT&T set out to undermine democracy. What I am saying is that their business decisions consistently aligned them with platforms and lawmakers that did. That's what we mean by patterns over time. Verizon shows a similar, though smaller pattern. They also donated to lawmakers who objected to certifying the election result, though not at the same scale as AT&T. T-Mobile has a much smaller political footprint overall, lower spending, fewer entanglements, and lower risk. Here's what makes wireless carriers different from most products. When you buy something, your money leaves once. When you pay a phone bill, you feed a system continuously. Monthly charges, long-term contracts, billions in reoccurring revenue. Every payment reinforces the same corporate institutions again and again. And some of that revenue doesn't just grow networks, it grows political influence. Now, let's lay it out plainly and score each company's democracy risk.
Here's how it works. The Democracy-Risk Scorecard measures how much political influence a company wields and whether that influence supports or undermines democratic values. We don't score companies based on one scandal. We score them based on long-term patterns of political behavior. We weigh three main factors. Political spending, which is direct donations and PAC contributions. Policy lobbying is how often they push or fund legislation that restricts accountability or amplify corporate power. And democracy alignment. That measures whether their long-term record shows support for voting access, civil rights, and transparency. Companies that spend heavily or consistently back anti-democratic efforts rank higher on the risk scale. Those that stay transparent or support democratic participation rank lower.
Here's how it stacks up. AT&T lands in the high-risk zone because its PAC and lobbying network have repeatedly funded lawmakers who sought to weaken election certification, voting rights protections, and public oversight. Verizon sits in the medium risk range. Its donations are smaller and less coordinated, but the pattern is still there. T-Mobile scores low risk because they have limited political giving, and a narrower policy footprint keeps its influence minimal by comparison. There is, however, an alternative, Credo Mobile. Credo operates on the Verizon network, So you're getting the same nationwide coverage and infrastructure, just through a different company. But what makes Credo different isn't the service, it's how the business is structured. Credo was built on an explicit political mission. It directs a portion of its revenue toward organizations supporting voting rights, civil liberties, and environmental causes. And it allows customers to have input on where some of those funds go. That means your monthly bill doesn't just avoid certain kinds of influence, it helps direct a portion of it in a more transparent way. Now, it's important to be clear, Credo is not politically neutral. It is politically active by design, but its influence is visible, values-driven, and not concentrated in the hands of a few decision makers. There are trade-offs. Credo is smaller than the major carriers. Some customers report issues with billing or support, and because it runs on Verizon's infrastructure, it doesn't fully separate you from the broader telecom system. But what it does change is how your money moves within that system, reducing direct support for large-scale corporate lobbying and shifting a portion of that value towards civic and advocacy efforts. It's not a perfect solution, but it represents a fundamentally different model. So there you have it, the first episode of the Spendfluence channel. I really appreciate you watching. The purpose and the goal of this channel is to increase awareness and bring to light the political spending of corporations behind our favorite products and our favorite services. I want to expose how much they're working to undermine our democracy and then present you with alternatives that don't. Let's start this journey together by first becoming more mindful that our rights and our democracy aren't defended only in the voting booths. They can be defended in every choice we make with our money. Yes, at the moment, corporations have a stranglehold on our politics. But I believe that as we, the consumers, become more aware, we can increasingly influence corporations. It's time we start viewing our dollars as votes and spend them like democracy depends on it, because increasingly it does. Once again, thanks for watching. Give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Look out and stay tuned for the next episode. Take care, stay safe, and see you next time. Bye.